Oh man, Kamal, brother, had an opportunity to go see Sinners coming out this weekend. You checked it out already. Let me get your take on it, man. What you think? Well, let me start by asking:
Mm-hmm.
was you expecting what you got when you walked in there? Let me start there.
Yes, everything that I saw, I was expecting it. I didn't. It wasn't. I wasn't shocked or surprised about anything. Though I can say that I had a lower expectation
About the film in general?
about certain qualities with the film. Yeah, I had a low, but not that much lower. I mean, if my expectation was at 70%, then it jumped up to 90%.
Oh, okay. Well, we got that going in. What you think about the overall film? What's your feeling about it?
I mean, first of all, I gotta say the cinematography, the acting, the screenplay, all top notch. I mean, the cinematography was just absolutely breathtaking. It was beautiful. I don't know. I would be curious to know like what they used to shoot it, how they shoot it, what type of lens that they used on certain landscape shots. But it was a beautiful shot film. Um, so that was number one. The acting was was incredible, man. I mean, like everyone was believable. Everyone transformed into their character. Everyone, you thought that you were literally watching two Michael B. Jordans, who had two different personalities, but not no overacting. Nothing was far fetched or unbelievable.
Do you have a fair favorite character? Me typically I end up saying like, man, this was my favorite character in this Sinners. The lady that played, I think her character name was Anna, the one of
That
Michael
was
B. Jordan
Smokes,
character. Yeah, he went
girl.
back and
Hmm.
rekindle a little something with her. She was my favorite character out of the many that they had. You
Mm.
have a favorite character or somebody who jumped off screen more than somebody else?
I'd have to say that my favorite character was the young man, um, Preacher Boy.
Oh, that was playing the music.
Hmm. I'd have to say that was my favorite character out of all of them.
Why
Hmm.
him?
His character to me was so. This movie had so many different layers to it, but his character in particular starts off one way. Number one, he starts off with have to get people to get over the fact that he's not a little kid anymore. So he's coming into age. So his particular story is a coming into age just for him. Smoke and Stacks already had they coming to the age. They who they are that you see them is who they are. Um, and some other characters you can tell that they had a bit of a past as well, and then it was something new that got introduced in the time period that they're shooting in. But for the most part, yeah, his character by the time that his character starts, he's one particular person, and by the time that it ends, he's a completely different person. So
Okay.
that's why I liked him.
What
It's
did you think about the take on vampires? It's not you don't get vampire stories, movies every month like you may do in action or something like that.
hmm
What did you think about the vampire addition to the story?
again, like multi-layered from the surface. you go into it thinking, okay, this is From Dusk Till Dawn with George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino. They go into a bar in Mexico, and before you know it, a lot of people in the bar turn into vampires. They got to figure out how to get out of it by stakes and hearts, wooden stakes and hearts, and garlic water and holy water and things like that. So on the surface is that, but uh, how it was explained to me that this story was actually not a true story, not a real story, but it was adapted from uh, the musician, the boy, and he's a real musician. So I believe it was the director's grandfather or great grandfather or something like that, right? So they're on one level they're not vampires. When you're talking, let's say that I had a mean auntie growing up,
Okay.
and she was just awful to me. And then I became a screenwriter, and then I wrote a story. And instead of making it about a story about a mean auntie, I made it into a story about a monster. But in reality, the monster is my auntie. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it was. These people that he grew up with, who scarred his face, uh, weren't really vampires, but they were so evil to him in this deep Mississippi South that he had to grow up in. Uh, that his great grandson writes a story and change them into vampires, which I thought was cool. So when you're watching it, yeah, you're seeing vampires, but you're also seeing just an evil in the South, just an awful evil, and then it's multi-layered on that as well because what he's saying is that the music is what's bringing this spirit. They're playing music, and every time that they play music, okay, have you ever lived in an apartment, or maybe when you were younger, you turned up your music, and then there was somebody in your life who go, you need to turn that down. Maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was your parents, maybe it was your next door neighbor in the apartment that you were living in, but somebody like try to suppress you having fun, right? So
Okay.
that's how I took it. Like they're out there playing this music, and every time that they play this music, here comes this evil, trying to stop them from having a good time.
What you think about the music?
That was the music as itself. Um, I would buy a soundtrack too. If they sold the soundtrack to Sinners, I would buy the soundtrack to Sinners without question. However, and researching, well, just studying, because I knew you wanted to talk to me about this film. So as I was thinking about it, I was like, this is something new for me. When I was younger, I watched a movie called Malcolm X. It was with Denzel Washington and Spike Lee. In the first act of Malcolm X, there was this bar scene where they go to the bar and they just dancing, and they're doing this dance, this kind of jigaboo dance to this entire song. When I was younger, I didn't even notice it. I didn't even really pay attention to it. I'm watching the movie and I'm looking at them dancing, and I'm not thinking about it any other way other than here's some people on screen dancing, right? But as I'm older now, dancing and music is so annoying to me in film. If you tell me, hey, we're gonna go watch a play and it's gonna be dancing and music, I'm ready for it. But if I go to a movie and I'm thinking it's gonna be kind of like an action, suspense, horror movie, I really, and no one says that it's gonna be a lot of music in it uh, from the characters, then I get disappointed because I really don't be. I was just sitting there thinking like, God, would they hurry up? You know what I'm saying?
So would you be more into a film that had music if it was about a musician? Like because this wasn't a
Right,
music movie,
right,
you weren't
right,
expecting a lot of music.
right. Because we saw a film a while back where Joker, right? Where I wasn't expecting it to do that at all. You took me to a film and what was it? Joker, and I wasn't really prepared, and I think a lot of people were actually surprised because they didn't put it in the preview. They didn't put it in the trailer that it was going to be like this huge. I mean, there was 10 plus songs in the Joker.
Well, some people was looking at it from the trailer like it was about to be some type of musical with the dancing and the hints that they threw at it
In the Joker?
in the Joker, the second Joker. Some people was expecting a musical, and obviously that's what they got. But you weren't a fan at all.
I love the movie. I just wasn't. I didn't get that from the trailer. All the trailers that I saw was like it was some kind of breakout of the prison. That's what I thought that it was, that he goes to prison and then he was gonna get breaking out of, and then he was gonna be with his girl. But yeah, I was surprised for the musical, and I just wasn't ready. It was like a date movie, really. That was a movie that it would have been a perfect little date movie.
I
Mm-hmm.
heard somebody. I was talking to somebody about this, and it was an interesting point that they made when it comes to the vampires.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many movies. I only thought of one, which was Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
And you may consider that a comedy,
Mm-hmm.
some comedy. But Vampire in Brooklyn, I thought it was a great film. I love Vampire in
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn. But and when it comes to like the dark, serious
Mm-hmm.
vampire movies,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to vampires, African Americans
Mm-hmm.
typically are never the vampires.
Right.
Like that's doing the hunting, doing the killing.
Right.
Somebody mentioned Blade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of Blade,
Mm-hmm.
but Blade was a daywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Blade was out there killing the vampires,
Right.
which is the one out there turning people.
Right.
Blade wasn't trying to turn nobody.
Right.
So I was like, it is that it's typically Caucasians or people of non-African descent that are vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing it back to Sinners, everybody that was in the Jew joint was good.
Mm-hmm.
None of them was vampires.
Mm-hmm.
The vampires was the folks outside, which was the people out there playing the music.
Mm-hmm.
Only time African Americans became vampires and sinners is when somebody got bit and somebody got turned.
Right.
Why isn't it? Why aren't there more African American vampires that's going out there doing the killing and doing the turning?
So there is one more show. I don't know if it's on Netflix or it's on one of those streaming channels. It's called Interview with a Vampire. Now the first Interview with a Vampire.
That's a series or a show?
It's a series.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so it was written by an author named Anne Rice. Obviously they were Caucasian, from Europe somewhere. The main one was Lestat. So Lestat could turn anybody into a vampire that he want, but because he was mostly in Europe, um, a lot of the vampires that he turned was obviously white. But what happened was is that he goes to New Orleans, and when he goes to New Orleans, he does turn black people into vampires, but they were slaves because it was a period piece. So
Okay.
so they were slaves. So this new Interview with the Vampires, or the most current one that's streaming, they are black. They're biracial, you know, um, but they are black, and they're going, and there's mixed reviews about but a lot of people who are fans typically like it. They like it. I haven't started watching it yet. I've only watched a couple of reviews on it because I'm a fan of the originals. So um, this one, however, makes sense that somehow they didn't go into the story because if you really think about it, there's not a lot of vampires in America. Vampires, when they would come on ships, the same way that it did with Brooklyn, Vampire in Brooklyn. They come on a ship from overseas to America, and then once they get over here, we usually have vampire hunters. So that's the reason they don't expand that much. Um, just like these vampires at the end of the movie for Sinners, they didn't get to. They're not going to get to really expand too much because, uh, the twins win. Well, one of them wins, so they're not going to get to really populate a large group. But unless there was one of the vampires that kind of snuck away, that didn't go back to the shack, you would have to watch the film to kind of know what I'm talking about. But yeah, if what happened was all of the dancers and all of the patrons that were in the shack in the juke joint, they go outside. They were like, oh, you guys got to leave, and they're still human. And when they go outside, that's when the main vampires get all of them. So they come back to try to get the few remaining humans that are still in the juke joint. But we don't know. Maybe one of them say, I'm not going back, and they go out into the woods.
Well, I think you departed the theater a little early because the young musician,
Mm-hmm.
of course, he didn't die.
Right.
And he grew up
Right.
to be a musician.
A musician.
So at the end, it's a scene where he's probably 65.
Yeah.
Playing his instrument inside of a juke joint type
Right.
bar.
Right.
And Michael B. Jordan
Mm-hmm.
and the female that I forgot her real name,
Mm-hmm.
the white actress that got turned.
Haley
Yes.
Stratfield.
Yeah, her
Stratfield.
and Michael B. Jordan, the two that got turned into vampires,
Mm-hmm.
they walked in there into the juke joint where old guy was playing. So obviously
Right.
he was a young man
Right.
during the movie.
And they're still the same age.
And they're still the same age.
Right.
And they go in there, have a little brief conversation with them.
Right.
Basically sparing them, saying, hey,
Mm.
you can join us.
Right.
It's never too late to join us.
Right.
But, he was like, nah, obviously he recognized them, and Michael B. Jordan and the girl let him go.
Right.
And they just had a little brief conversation and they walked out.
Right.
And I think some people may look at that as if it could be a part two. Obviously, this guy's a lot older, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they plan on running with him again, but
Right.
the turned Michael B. Jordan
Right.
and Haley,
Right.
they still out there.
And that's interesting because it's a couple also in the Interview with a Vampire series. No, I take that back. It's a guy and he calls her his daughter because she got turned. So he took her on as a daughter. It's Louis and oh my god, I can't remember her name. Anyway, yeah. The point is that it could be a part two.
Do you think, based off your review of it, you went and checked it out?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a lot of people gonna go watch it and stuff. A lot of hype about it.
Right.
Do you think, based off just what you've seen, there should be a part two?
Of course, definitely.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Or if not a part two, I'm also a fan of, like, there's Mission Impossible, there's 007, but there's also a lot of other films about espionage. There's also a lot of other films about spies and whatnot. And I like those, the good ones also that go into a little detail. We were talking about the other day, like The Recruit, that specifically talks about, the entire movie is specifically talking about the training process. So, we can make other films about the supernatural in relationship to Black people. I think that would be incredible. So it wouldn't have to be exactly a part two, but just can make another film about a take of that, of Sinners.
Did you think it was a good mix, including the the KKK and racism, and including that in the story too?
Hmm.
Could it have been a better movie if they just did just vampires,
No.
or you like the feel of adding
Yeah.
the racism in
Right. I do. I like the feel of the music as being interpreted as a spiritual calling. The KKK or just white supremacy being uh, a result of negative energy, of bad juju. um, and you could even go deeper. I mean, also I found Annie to be an incredible character too. One thing that I feel about her is that she put a spell on Smoke. That's the reason that he was as infatuated with her as he was, because she put like a little hex on him. Because there's this thing that you got to be careful with these Louisiana women, these Mississippi women, because they'll put some on you. And his behavior was like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I like you, but I don't really understand why I like you. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah, okay.
And then in the reverse also, but not really on a spell type of thing, but more on a physical thing with Mary's character, with Stax, that she was completely infatuated with him. I mean, just would drink his bath water, and not that he put a spell on her, but he put his, you know, he gave her something to make her super not wanting to be with anybody else but him. Um, and both of them liking like these women that are kind of off, that you really shouldn't mess with, but the kind of lifestyle that they live, that's the kind of woman that they would be interested in.